morning, humanity. It's March 12th, 2018, and this is Mondays with Bev and Paul. Hi.
Hi.
My name's Paul.
My name's Bev.
It certainly is. Ollie, remember that show?
I do.
Oliver and Hardy?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
One of my favorites.
I've used that expression many times.
Hey, everybody. How are you today? We're glad to be with you, and we are here to share with you BioTouch and how to do it at home, how to get in a dialogue with us. Man, we've had a big week of dialoguing. So,
Isn't that the truth?
So,
wow.
well,
Just beginning, by the way.
Yeah, so we look forward to sharing that with you. We have a question for today. Do we realize what stress can do to us? And we're going to read a part from our book written by Deborah Schildhouse today. But first, I went and gave a presentation at Mended Hearts support group.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful. There were about 15 people there. And that sort of inspired us also to talk about what we are today, about stress.
Oh, right.
They went around the room. The interesting thing I realized when everybody was going around the room, I'd worked with people that had every heart condition they talked about: bypass, heart transplants, and so
just everything related to the heart,
arrhythmias, and this and that, and yeah, it was, and so gave them the story of my mother, who died on the operating table from a heart operation.
I know.
They
That's
were like,
powerful.
Whoa.
Really? Yeah.
So, but the key there also was what we're going to talk about today: stress. So that was an interesting thing to help us build on today.
For sure. Oh, that's great.
And we got a letter from a woman named Vanessa, and I want to read this little testimonial. She said, "I took the January 2018 training and got a lot out of it. Interestingly, I felt like I was on cloud 9 for several days after the class. Since then, I've been practicing BioTouch on family members as well as instructing my husband on how to give me BioTouch. My mother really likes her sessions, and Hannah, my 4-year-old granddaughter, asked me to bring my purple book the next time I come to her house.
Cute.
I have also been keeping up with your Monday morning broadcasts, which make me feel like I'm in a BioTouch class." Hi, Vanessa.
Wow. Thank you, Vanessa, for
Yes.
sharing that. Oh, I love that.
Good job, Vanessa. Really sharing it with her family.
Well, and when I was first reading, I thought, well, then we've accomplished what we're here to do, because that's exactly what we want to do. She takes the training and then she takes it into her own life and starts to share it with everybody. Oh my goodness, that's it. That's the power of BioTouch right there.
And it always reminds me too. It's interesting. We're going through a whole new branding process. And I always think about the young ones. How they don't really care about a brand.
Right.
You can't sell them, but the young one knows. The granddaughter, bring your purple book with you.
I know. I love it. Purple book.
Bring your purple book,
Or
kids will also say, "Mommy, no, you do that touchy thing to me."
Right. Now, when they start saying, "Mom, I think you're just a little bit off on that point," wow, we've got our next practitioner.
We did have that once with that couple. I sent it to a woman. She just ordered it online, never heard about it. We sent it to her. She was taking care of her grandkids at that time, and she showed them how to work on her sinuses, and they all watched the DVD, and they practiced. And then the next day they wanted to do it again, so that time the grandma let the granddaughter work on her, and the young boy was going, "Now, you're not touching in the right place."
I'm immediately a practitioner. But can't you be?
Yes.
That's exactly what the magic of BioTouch. You're immediately a practitioner.
Inspiration.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So we read our testimony. What we want to do is go to our question today. Do we realize what stress can do? And we're going to read from our book, BioTouch, Healing with the Power in Our Fingertips by Deborah Schildhouse. And we realize it's been about a little over 2 years, because we were at the book fair 2 years ago.
Yeah, we were, weren't we?
So,
wow, I was thinking about that this weekend.
So here we are. We're going to read a little part from this book.
Yeah, a little. And the question was, do you realize what stress can do to us? And this is what Deborah writes. During my internship to become a staff member at the Biotech Center in Tucson, I was taught that pain was not the only thing that brought recipients to the center, although it was the #1 complaint. Unrecognized stress was the biggest hidden problem for many people. They didn't realize how stressed out they were, or how that stress was overwhelming their immune systems and causing them pain and illness. I learned that for the average recipient, relief lasted from a few hours to a few days following the first BioTouch session. With subsequent sessions, the relief lasted longer and longer. Often, regular weekly sessions seem to effectively address the root cause of people's pain and other symptoms. The root cause?
The root cause. That's a good question. What is the root cause?
Right.
And how does BioTouch address that? And we have the research to show it. But yeah, why does BioTouch help with stress? What are we addressing here?
Well, you know, I've got to throw out Bruce Lipton's name right now. He is an amazing cellular biologist who had an aha moment years ago with his research at Stanford and discovered that, the cells in our body that make up our DNA are actually, they have a substance of intelligence. They're little conscious units. And what happens if you're in pain, suffering, under stress, you are actually able to change the story within those cells. But the key is you change the story with love. You begin to speak into your body with loving dialogue. That you are empowered to do that.
There you go.
And you know where I went with that? Well, for me, that's BioTouch is a communication system. That loving touch begins to, it's something that you've heard from us many times, it stimulates the body to begin the healing process. And love is the key. Yeah.
And it's interesting, too, because I talked many times about that conference we went to. It was a psychology conference, and this psychology cellular guy was talking about mind, body, spirit connections, which, of course, if it couldn't be proven clinically, he, wasn't worthwhile to him. But he was showing clinically, and I think he talked on a cellular level, too, when you make a change in the deepest seat of consciousness, is what he said, things change. Everything will follow from that change. And he said that change is a wow experience in our life. Whenever you have a wow experience, things start to change at the cellular level, which then, as you said, goes on and the body can start to follow that. And he specifically said to that group of people, now you go out there and let those people who have that little booth out there do that touch technique on you, because that is a way to have a wow experience. And I'm like, and we always see that. We do a simple session, and people at the end of 5 minutes go, wow.
Well, it's interesting because my experience as a staff member at the center, when I work with the recipient, they will tell us at the beginning of the session, we know that they're dealing with certain conditions and at the end of the session, when they walk out of the room and they are like, wow, what I've realized is that had a direct effect on the stress that they're holding in their body. So whatever is going on as a physical manifestation of that stress and anxiety, yes, BioTouch is addressing that, but at a real basic foundational level within the body, it is addressing the stress that the body is holding from trauma or, not loving ourselves enough, because this is part of that whole awareness. It begins the process. So they're less stressed.
Less stress. Let's show the research.
Yeah.
Here's the research that we've replicated over and over and over and over again. This was one of our first research projects. We have 4 different areas that we did it. One was Amity, which was a drug rehab community. We had a California center, we had a Hawaii center, and we had our Tucson, Arizona center. And that dotted line there is where the stress was pre-session. Interesting, Hawaii had the
least amount.
Wait, no. Pre-session is
Pre-session
the blue.
Is the blue.
Blue.
Yeah, okay.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, learn how to read this chart.
Lying. And the greatest amount of stress was the people at the drug rehab community, but everybody had a lessening of stress, quite a few points.
Quite a bit.
And if you'll notice here, those who have the greatest amount of stress, when you have that kind of drop in stress, you almost feel like you want to pass out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I would imagine.
So that, and we had that with the high school kids too, that drop in stress. But there's what happened clinically, and we've done thousands of people with that. You see the P factor less than 0.0001 is statistically significant in the fact that it's not by happenstance. When you have this many people, there's something going on physiologically in the body that is changing.
Right.
And if we're talking about cellular level, which I can't see, but we see the end result. People feel better. Their pains go away. Their inflammation is reduced.
Oh, I know. It's just, and that's what happened on Thursday when I was working with the recipient for the first time. She went into the room in a lot of pain. And when she walked out after 20 minutes, she was flabbergasted. She just looked at me. She goes, I can't even believe this is real. And I looked at her and I'm like, as much as I've seen this, I can't even. So it's magical what BioTouch can do.
And so we've done a lot of research over the years, and we, of course, love our little stress cycle created by Dr. Kenneth Stevenson after her research, and she had a lot of the same questions, and she added also blood testing, saliva testing, hormonal testing. And here's what she found in her research, which bears to add to all the other research we did, and all these things above that dotted line above the accelerated aging pathways. All those are the stressors in our life, and you can't stop a lot of them. Relationships, social isolation, environment, diet, the news, drugs, genes, our whole DNA. We're finding we carry a lot of who we are just from our DNA structure. Emotional, lifestyle, childhood, just getting out on the road and driving. And those created what she calls activation of accelerated aging pathways, which is chronic stress. And that, if they look in those lines in the middle, is immune dysregulation and cortisol dysregulation. And those create dementia, cardiovascular disease, which is what I heard at that support group I was at, infections, tumors, mood disorders, and obesity. And she found if you put BioTouch into that chronic stress cycle, we increase what she calls interleukin 12, which improves immune system functioning and improves circadian pattern of cortisol release. That's the refreshingness we feel when we sleep in the day. And basically, that's how we improve the quality of our life and, and fight infection and promote healthy aging.
Well, and I'm remembering our last the workshop with Sally when we were talking about joint replacements. What struck me was that the underlying cause of they're just now discovering, in research, the medical community, that when these joint problems, the underlying cause is inflammation in the body, and this is what is one of the stressors in our life from all of those things that Ken have found, and all these autoimmune diseases, and it's all stress related. Boy.
Right, and she found that stress, you could start to get inflammation or an arthritic condition in a finger, and then the body starts to recognize that, and then pretty soon it's in the wrist, and then it's in the elbow and the knee, and it travels. That inflammation starts traveling around to all the different joints, and from what we just saw in that chart, BioTouch can break that story. That's the story we can break.
Yes, that's the story. And I remember reading when I was looking at that research from Kenna that the last thing she said about her thought about this whole research project was that, and she made this comment, if you put BioTouch, if you were just to get BioTouch once a week and develop a maintenance program with BioTouch, you would drastically change the quality of your life and your health. Just once a week.
And we're not talking about a long period of time once a week. I mean, we're talking 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
One of the things yesterday in the presentation, a guy came up to me and he lives an hour and a half away, and he said, well, what can I do today after we leave here? And I said, you could do the greeting. You could do the greeting, and then you could take these two fingers and touch locally where the pain is, where you feel the inflammation, where you feel the arthritis. Just go locally to it, even if you don't know anything else.
Right. Oh.
So, and that's 5 minutes once a week. We can't get much easier than that.
I know. Well, this is what we're always saying about BioTouch, the simplicity of it.
Yeah, and that's changing the internal dialogue. That's
changing the story, isn't it?
Letting ourselves be loved.
Yeah.
Letting ourselves be touched, or even as a practitioner, putting ourselves in the opportunity to touch another human being. And I'll tell you, I've not found a better meditation. We're learning meditation, mindfulness now. That's a big word. Yeah. To put ourselves in a present moment, to be at peace, to calm down our thoughts. BioTouch does that. That relationship of touch with this particular system stops us.
What's interesting about that? It's when you do BioTouch, there's two people involved. So at the same time, both the giver and receiver are in a state of meditation.
Right.
And so, you normally think, meditation is a personal thing, but that connection on that deeper level with another human being, that's like love.
I used to have a dear friend, Lou Epstein, used to teach, and his big statement was, life is with people.
You can't escape. We can't escape each other. Yeah. So you might as well do BioTouch.
That's right. So let's learn it. So here's our manual, and we're going to teach you how to do the stress set.
The stress set may be used to address any manifestation of physical, emotional, or mental stress, as well as anxiety and shingles. Hold at X, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone. It is the same as greeting point 1. Then with the other hand touch points 1 and 2, which are the same points as in the heart set. These points are found by imagining a line running from the notch at the top of the breastbone to a place on the left breast where the nipple would be on a youth. Divide this imaginary line into thirds. Point 1 is at the top of the first third. Point 2 is at the top of the second third. These points may be touched repeatedly, and remember to touch each point for at least 6 to 8 seconds.
There you go.
I don't know how much simpler you can get for something that powerful.
Yes, sir. It doesn't get much simpler. Yeah, the interesting thing about that is that guy there was the head of a methadone treatment center in Honolulu.
Oh,
and
wow.
he came every week for his BioTouch. I mean, the stress of his job was incredible.
I can only imagine.
And he came every week, so and he really wanted to get it into his clientele base.
Of course.
So to help them with that.
Right.
So again, it's easy for you to learn how to do this. Go online to our website, justtouch.com. If you just want the first 10 pages for free, there's a little link that says free preview. And we'll give you the 10 pages, the greeting. And
get you started.
Yeah, get you started with that. And then send us an email. Send us questions to address here on the show because we just love talking. Oh, do I?
Oh, you do. Created a monster here.
Met a match, too, over here.
Okay.
So tell us, what do we have? We have a workshop coming up, too, in a couple of weeks.
We do, just a week from this Thursday on the 22nd, right? Yep. Workshop on glaucoma and cataracts. That's going to be a good one. And we have a really special presenter, Lester Geisel. He is been with us for a long time as a supporter. He's taken the classes. He is a long-standing recipient, and just amazing. He's a great guy.
And it's interesting because for as long as he's been coming, he's really getting the essence.
Oh my goodness!
More and more as he gets worked on more and more.
I know
the dialogue that's changed in his life has been incredible.
And just to be on this journey with him as a practitioner has been pretty loving wonderful for me too.
So we hope to share more with you. Here's the book Around the World. And if you have the book at home, please take a picture of it, send it to us. And if you don't have the book, it's time to get one. Mm-hmm. It's still a wonderful book, gives a great history of how BioTouch came into being, and shares with you Deborah's journey in relation to my journey. And we'll leave you on that note of all these pictures of people around the world. And again, thank you all for joining us for another Mondays with Bev and Paul. Have a good week.
Have a lovely week.
If pain has got you down and you live in town, take a trip down to Pima Street. The people down there are people who care. They will get you back on your feet. Put love into action.